You can use a digital board in a physical meeting, but there are a couple of things to really pay attention to. Hello, I'm Tom. Welcome to my channel where we talk about continuous improvement in an industrial setting. And today we will be talking about meetings, but specifically if you have like a KPI meeting or any performance or maybe a pillar meeting or things like that, but specifically those things that are more like the morning, the daily, the weekly meetings, so these performance control meetings. Should we use digital boards in such meetings? And I think the simple answer is yes, we can. We should not need to do so, however. And I will argue that actual big physical boards, the whiteboard type of things, or stuff that is printed out, or like a pre-printed board that you fill in with part printed and part with your markers, will do a perfect job. And it might do that job, it often, in fact, I would say, does that job better than a digital board. But that is because of how we use the digital boards. There is a good place for digital boards. They can definitely work, but we need to take a couple of things into consideration. Now, when we look at basically their predecessors, right, the big physical boards, what we will often see is something like two of those huge whiteboards, one with a bunch of KPIs. You know, it has your safety, quality, cost type of KPIs. It has your days or weeks or shifts. You know, it depends a bit on which meeting you have, but you have this overview. And then also, again, there will be numbers there, but hopefully you make this visual overview where you can immediately see, you know, which KPIs are in the red, which are green. You see that this day was pretty bad. Probably there is, you know, one big story behind the whole day being bad on volume and delivery and cost and everything. You also see that of the categories, this factory, this example factory, mostly has a problem with their cost aspect. Things like maybe they put too much labor on the work floor more than they had planned, or they make too much scrap or something like that, right? So the product usually seems to be fine, the volumes and the delivery are usually okay, but they've got a cost issue. And then next to it, we have also usually pretty big a central action board. So this is the action board, one per meeting. You don't try to get as many meetings into one action board as you can, because basically it is that meeting that is the owner of the actions, and it are specifically the people that go to that meeting who have actions on that board, right? So that who has the action, who's responsible, those should be people from that meeting. When is it finished? Well, that is a bit up to you. I do know quite a number of teams who will put the date of the next meeting here. Honestly, I think the when column should just be whenever you think you can finish that action, even if it is not a meeting day. But we go into action management. That was not the topic of the video. Big KPI board, big action board, sometimes two KPI boards, if that is useful for your meeting, especially like a daily or a weekly meeting. They sometimes just have these huge sets of KPIs, not because they have so many KPIs per se, but because they want to show 4 different departments, right? If you have 4 production departments in your factory, very often you want to sort of show and the safety and the cost things of all of those factories, all of those departments in your factory. You can get some more real estate. But the main thing here is when you look at this, if you did your boards correctly, but most physical boards will give you this overview quite nicely, is that you can see those things that I just discussed. You can see, oh, bad day, oh, that's the target KPI in the slightly longer term as well. On the action board, we basically only have one action that needs to really be discussed right now, that's overdue. Now, this, by the way, a digital board can really do. We'll get to that in a bit. Anyway, the red focuses our attention. If you have an action without an owner, without a date, it also immediately shines, right? It does not have these fields filled in. Or if you're missing KPIs over here. But a big part of what the board does for your meeting is that anyone at any time during the meeting, and especially also just before the meeting already, can look at the boards and sort of know where the focus of this meeting has to go. And that'll help you put your time and energy to those subjects that will give you the best performance improvement if you focus on them in this meeting. Very helpful. You don't go over all the green KPIs. You focus on those reds. Now, if you don't have a lot of reds, and this is sort of your standard thing, you can hop around a little bit. But these type of meetings, the performance control meetings, they are just to check where we are. If everything's okay, we usually, especially the morning or the daily meeting, we leave the longer term improvement to other meetings, to TPM pillars, to a weekly meeting, to a engineering meeting that discusses where can we improve, right? Those type of things. So we focus on what do we need to discuss today, and you can see that. Same with the actions. Everyone can already see the actions. During the meeting, preferably whenever an action is raised, somebody can already go there, write the action on the board. Or at the very least, at the end of the meeting, the actions are put onto that board for everyone still to see. Because you see, what is the action? Am I the one who has to take it? The date, things are agreed. Those big physical boards give you a lot of overview. Now, what happens when we go digital? You could do the same. No, honestly, those big television screens aren't even that expensive, right? A good physical board will set you back a couple $100 as well. A good television screen is probably about 5 times more expensive, but still, right? It is maybe even worth it to just have a couple of those huge television screens, but hardly anyone does it. Because what can a digital screen easily do? Change. That's the whole idea, right? So we have a nice overview for the safety KPIs, then a nice overview for the quality KPIs, then a nice one for the cost KPIs. Or in that other example where I said we're going to discuss 4 departments within our production, we will have the same set of KPIs in the same overview, but then per department. So we click our slicer, we select department number 2, the screen refreshes and we get the nice same overview of department number 2. The action list, by the way, is not visible at all. We will discuss it at the end of the meeting, or maybe somebody's taking notes on a different computer and you will see it after the meeting. People should be adult enough, mature enough to check their own actions. Remember, this is just the bookkeeping. As soon as such things happen, we are losing this overview. When we have the big physical boards, you see all of that around. We can see so much more and so much quicker than the talking that is going on, right? So when somebody is sort of discussing a topic and you know that it's not directly yours, you'll start to look around a bit on the board, see, okay, what else is going on? People see things much quicker, especially if you do it nice and visual. So you can get your problem-solving mind, your performance-based mind working even when the discussion is not there. But also everyone can immediately see where the whole meeting should be focusing, including, of course, the chairman. So you'll put the time there. But if you start with department 1 and they have a couple of red squares, say, well, for this department, we should really be looking at those red squares. Let's get in there and discuss it. Then you flip to 2. Department 2 also has a couple of problems. We'll have to discuss it, right? That 1 hour breakdown yesterday. Ooh. Let's do a root cause analysis. Then we flip to department 3 and it is almost totally red, right? A lot of stuff happened that we need to talk about. We need to get some quick corrections in place. But we almost ran out of time already because we've been talking about 1 and 2. You don't see it in advance unless you build up your digital boards in a good structured way. You need that overview slide. Right? So get yourself also a slide that you would not have when you were dealing with physical boards, which is the overview, the grand total. Get that first focus in there. Know in advance what your team will have to be talking about. Then it can really be very nice, because one of the things that's almost impossible with these physical boards, and that you can very nicely do with digital boards, especially if you use those tools like Tableau, Power BI, or the BI type of tools, is that you have those drill through options. So you say, oh, again, the cost KPIs, why again did we have an overflow, over usage of labor? Why did we plan too many people? Let's click on it and it will update what the screen is showing you. It will give you a new dashboard of how was the planning, which shifts, which planning, and why did we plan extra people on certain lines. Very nice for sort of quick. We don't, of course, want some root cause analysis in a performance meeting, but it will give you a quick, good overview, give you the underlying data, help the discussion be factual, right? Fact-driven actions, fact-driven discussion in your performance meeting is a good thing that can really be helped by having these digital boards. You would not want to have all of that per line information on the overview at all times, way too much information. But if you know that this is the one area you want to focus on, look, you get your detail. Very nice advantage of the digital boards. But the disadvantage is that we're not showing those things very often. So again, this is how you use digital boards in a good way. Remember that one of the main tasks of the KPI and action boards in a meeting is to give everyone the overview, to direct where your focus as a management team, and I take that quite broadly, right, with the support staff from different departments, as this broader management team, where your focus should be today to make performance for today and tomorrow and next week a lot better. You need those overview things. Now the meeting has to then drive action by the people present to improve that performance. So that action list needs to be there as well. That is the core of the meeting. If you only present and discuss the KPI, so that's basically what happened yesterday, right? If that is all that you discuss, and then there's sort of a somebody should do something, you are not really having a performance control meeting. You're running a performance checking meeting. Well, we'll check what happened yesterday. It was pretty bad. Let's come up with some excuses and move on. That is not going to help you. But control means that you take action. That is why the action board is such a big part as well. So when you do a digital board, you can make really nice implementations of this, but do not forget to have the overview, because that's actually more important than the details, and get a clear action board in full sight of everyone. Now, in that whole COVID time when most of us went to digital meetings and everyone had their own screen and maybe even could switch between info because they could all open files and reports, that worked wonderfully. And if you have digital meetings, there is no escaping the digital board, and it can really help nicely. It'll help you focus the meeting by putting that what should be now focused onto the screen. But when you're doing it in a physical room, remember that you need to do the same thing. You need to show the info that is needed for your discussion, both the overview, and that is the one that's usually forgotten, and the details, and get to those actions. Now, in the previous video, not without reason, I said you could also just make the action board physical, right? It's also an option. Do only one part digital. Make your nice KPIs that update from automatic systems, make that digital, and keep the action board physical. Absolutely okay. But if you make it digital, make sure it still gets on screen, gets center of attention when everyone can see what is happening. You want to guide the whole team through the discussion with what is on screen. Now, on screen, literally, if they are digital, on screen is on the boards, and you can even sort of, everyone will turn with the boards. You have your different presenters at their fixed place where their KPIs are, where their stuff is. That is not gone yet, right? We've been used to that system for the last couple of decades. That system still works. We think that this is a purely digital age. It still works. But if we want to go digital, keep those lessons in. Now, as I said, the digital board can, of course, also serve us in a couple of very nice ways. So diving in the drill down of your KPI, but also indeed automatically updating what should be done, automatically sorting your action list by date, so it's easier to spot which actions have to be discussed today. It can send it through to other systems. It is a very nice way to maybe save also some time to standardize what you're reporting. There are good benefits. But remember, the function of those boards in the first place is not to catch all the KPIs in a nice fancy digital way. it is to help the meeting. That always has to be in the forefront of how you design those boards. And if it is needed to get 2 big screens, put on 2 big screens. One for the KPIs, one for the actions is wonderful. Or just 2 so that you can play with the info a bit. Then it is helping you in a good way. Then it's not just digitalization to be more modern, but to be a more effective meeting. So yes, definitely, there is a place for the digital board. I like them. We have to use them in a correct way. I hope that this triggered also a couple of improvement thoughts for you in your organization to think about, take to your meetings and just continuously improve it a little bit, right? Make one nice improvement today, next week. Make your meetings go a little bit better. Now, if you like that idea, don't forget to hit that like button and share what is your experience with digital boards, physical boards. Can we actually have a good hybrid meeting? That is, many people from the factory are still in your daily meeting, but you also have a couple of people through camera, through uplink, join on Teams, Zoom, WebEx, whatever. How does that work in your organization? What experience do you have? Share it with us down in the comments. For now, I wish you the best of luck with your performance meetings. And as always, don't forget to also enjoy the continuous improvement journey.